I call it your mosaic of influence.
I like
Ooh,
that.
That's good. That's got some meat to
You
it.
kind of have no idea, but you have this mosaic and it has bits and pieces of influences throughout your photography journey. And this is just one of those pieces, but you can get a lot of pieces into that mosaic that you walk away with. We've put the right recipe, the key elements together that are going to make this inspirational, creative.
Well, hey everyone. Welcome to episode 427 of F-Stop, Collaborate, and Listen. I'm your host, Matt Payne, and this week's episode is a special one, especially if you've ever thought about attending a photography conference but weren't sure where to start. I'm joined by the team behind the Horizons Photography Conference, a brand new event happening this fall in Durango, Colorado. In today's conversation, we talk about how this unique conference came to life, why Durango was the perfect choice, and what makes Horizons stand out from other photography events. We dive into the behind-the-scenes planning process, how they're curating a mix of seasoned and emerging voices, and why in-person connection is still vital in a digital-heavy world. Horizons isn't about gear or hype, it's about building real community, sparking creativity, and helping photographers like you grow in meaningful ways. And here's something extra exciting. Listeners of this podcast can get $100 off of their registration for the Horizons Conference by using the code PAYNE100 at checkout. That's PAYNE 100. If you've ever wanted to attend a conference that's rooted in inspiration, inclusivity, and artistic growth, this is your chance. Let's dive in. Here's my conversation with the founders of the Horizons Photography Conference.
Yes.
Yeah, this is gonna be super fun. We've got a really fun episode planned today. We're gonna be talking all about the Horizons Photography Conference, which I am super excited about because it's right here where I live, making it super easy for me to be involved. But before we jump into that, let's go ahead and have everyone quickly introduce themselves. And I'll start with you, Martha, since you're always the quiet one.
Oh my God, I'm not quiet. Okay, my name is Martha. Not
What's
a
your last
Colorado
name,
native.
Martha?
Montiel. I was born in Mexico City. I live in Colorado. I'm a photographer, nature, sometimes wildlife, and just here for the fun.
And serial troublemaker.
Totally. Just give me some whiskey and
Continue.
Durango.
All right. How about, why don't you go next, Nick?
Hi guys, Nic Stover, full-time photographer based in San Luis Obispo, California, but I am a Colorado native. Went to college in Colorado State, migrated to Idaho for a while, and then got sucked into San Francisco, and I'm happy to be here now. So yeah, I run nature photography classes as my full-time gig, and I just did my last art fair for a number of years this last weekend, so that was a little bit ups and downs to sell out most of my inventory and have little left, but
I bet
glad to
that's
be
a
here.
little bittersweet.
Yeah, it was bittersweet. So
All right, and Shanda, how about you? You're like 10 minutes away from me here in Durango.
Right. Yeah. I'm here in Durango, Colorado. I am a full-time photographer. I specialize in really a multi-genre photography, mostly outdoor photography, trains, mountains. I do art fairs. I speak at photo clubs and do some judging at local photography clubs, but I'm also a student right now working on my master's degree in photography, which I should complete in December this year.
whoop.
So, yay.
And you'll be able to like teach us some stuff.
Yeah, it's taken.
Maybe it's fun. It's interesting. I did it to fill in some of the gaps that I thought, we were missing, and some of it's great. Some of it's kind of annoying, but it's fun.
She doesn't speak
Yeah.
too artsy to us most of the time, so that's good.
I actually am looking forward to you
Academic-y.
finishing your degree because I'll be really curious to hear some of your takeaways from that. But that's a whole other conversation.
Absolutely. It'll be
Yeah.
fun. Mm-hmm.
All right, well, let's talk about the conference. What is Horizons Photography Conference? Why did you decide to start it? And what gap in the photography world are you hoping to fill?
Big question.
Well, yeah, it is. That's a lot. We'll start with the bottom. Connection is the first inspiration that made this photography conference kind of come to life, because Martha and I met at a conference. We've met several of the other people that we go and photograph with at a summit and at a conference, and it's developed into these incredible relationships, and we wanted that opportunity for others to find that sort of thing. And like just last week, 2 people that we met at a photography summit in Lone Pine were camped here in my backyard. I mean,
Right.
it's just, you can't get that anywhere else. You can't get it, doing an online, type class, which has its place. It's incredible. But to get to meet these people, and then here they are, camping in my backyard, and we're like old friends, it's priceless. So
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I mean, ever since COVID, I think the hunger for human connection is stronger than ever, especially from photographers who, I think, there used to be more in-person type things, and then COVID just destroyed everything, and slowly we're kind of getting back into things. So it's cool to see that.
You also saw conferences like Outsiders that were really successful conferences, like by all metrics, sponsors, attendees, speakers, everything else. But then there was just discord amongst people on how to move forward or disagreements. And so there seems like an opportunity. We'll find out, I guess, on October 2nd, or we're finding out now that for people to come together in new ways. So.
it's because of the internet sensation and the connectability that we have, through all different sorts of things, that has become this fantastic thing that people are now going, wait a minute, I need that human connection. I mean, we are humans. We require that human connection, and it's sought out more than ever. The meaningful connections, creating experiences, having stories to walk away from. I mean, when's the last time you met up, online, and you got to walk away with friendships, stories, and experience and adventure? I mean, that's just the stuff that's missing, and we love that. And I think particularly photographers, we love that sort of thing.
Yeah.
The one thing that I would
absolutely.
add was it would be that for nature conferences, there's not that many. There's the Light Chasers in Canada, and then out of Chicago, which is not really, I don't know that it's a conference, more like a workshop, but there's not really that much for us. So that's kind of one of the gaps that we can fill in.
Yeah, totally. And there used to be more. I mean, I know the Moab Symposium is coming back, but I mean, the more the better, in my opinion, because, timing, like if you have a vacation during one, or you can't make it to this one or that one, or maybe you don't like the speakers at this one or that one. So I think it's good to have options, right? Yeah, and locations, exactly. Well, wow, what a segue, Shanda. It's almost like you have the questions in front of you and you know exactly how to lead me in. So your conference is going to be here in Durango, Colorado, which for people who aren't familiar with that location, I mean, we're in Southwest Colorado. It's funny because whenever I tell people I'm from Durango, they're like, oh, like Denver. I'm like,
Not
it's
so
like
much.
6.5 hour drive for me. It's, I'm closer to New Mexico and Utah and Arizona. There's not really any major highways that come through Durango. There's no interstate. It's got a tiny airport. So, it's not the easiest place to get to. So why Durango? Why is Durango the right place for a gathering like this? And I'm curious if you considered any other locations.
Well, personally, because I live here, I've been to 48 countries, and I've been to most of the United States. And so I've seen some incredible things. I've photographed some remarkable places, and I just keep coming back, to this location. And as you said, there's not a highway that comes right through it, but it's really accessible from many different directions. As a matter of fact, just last week, I was on the phone with one of our registrants who's coming from Minnesota. And he says, so I'm going to drive because it's one of the most fantastic times a year to take a drive. But he's coming, depending on the direction that you're coming from. I mean, you can hit Monument Valley is 3 hours away. So if you want to hit, Monument Valley, and there's some fantastic, I know Nick and I, we both know some pretty fantastic guides down there that can take you to places that you just can't, access without a guide for incredible photography. There's Cedar Mesa. Matt, Cedar Mesa is just magical in its own way. The Great Sand Dunes National Park.
Just over Wolf Creek Pass.
Right.
Creek Pass.
This side Badlands is 90 minutes down the way. Telluride is just a couple hours north. I mean, there's everything. No matter what direction you come in, there's going to be stops to make along the way. And so you can hit a Denver airport, take a drive, and see some of the most incredible scenery as you're coming to Durango. And it kind of makes Durango one of those places that it's off the beaten path, but it's not like Denver. So if we had done this in Denver, You have to drive a good distance just to get to any one location. And so it would be a lot of driving. It's the big city where Durango has charm. It's got artisan restaurants. It's got really unique downtown. It has unique views. It really has everything that we can imagine right in a short distance.
I don't know if you know this, Shanda, but Durango actually has more restaurants per capita than San Francisco.
Is it really?
I didn't know that.
Huh.
Wow. It's pretty wild.
I've heard of statistics about breweries too, and I can't remember what it was. Like we've got the most per capita in the U.S. or state of Colorado. I don't know what the numbers
it's
are,
like
but
if you were to speak to a 20 years ago version of me, I'd be like, when am I moving to Durango?
It's like Durango for me represented the journey and the destination for me. It's like you could take a journey to some place you don't want to sit or be for a conference. Like with all respect to Florida, but we could have done the conference in Miami, Florida, and it would have been about neither kind of a thing, versus like driving over from Ridgeway over the $1 Million Pass in the fall it's a bucket list thing for the majority of people. And if it isn't on your bucket list, you need to put it on there because it is absolutely stunningly gorgeous. For me personally, as a Colorado native, to have the concept of Durango in the fall, it just really doesn't get much better than that. And like Shanda was saying, to be able to come in from all these locations, or people that fly into Phoenix are going to drive up, they could see the Grand Canyon, go through Page, Monument Valley as well, come out. You want to go into Denver, wow, you could drive through so many incredible areas to get over to here. Oh, Salt Lake, oh, I'm going to drive down through Moab, I'm going to pop over. So it's not necessarily about flying directly into Moab and getting out as much as spending a little more time as well working your way down, which is super cool.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's funny because I always have to tell people who are into landscape and nature photography, like, truly, I'm surprised that there's not more people who haven't chosen Durango as their kind of hub to live or to spend a lot of time in, because within 3 hours, you can be in some of the world's best photography destinations, and it's pretty much accessible year round. So it's a pretty awesome place if you love photography.
This podcast is not sponsored by the Durango Chamber of Commerce, though. Maybe it should be, but
Could you make that happen for me, Nick? That would be
I'll
really
try.
cool.
I don't really have much pull, but let's make it happen.
I think Matt might have the most pull of all of us.
Yeah, and even then, it's like, good luck finding any sponsors. All right, well, so let's talk more about the specifics of the conference itself. So what sets Horizons apart from other photography events or conferences? And I'm curious if there's a guiding philosophy or a set of values behind the design of the conference. I know, Shanda, you had mentioned connection and all of that, but what else are you hoping people get out of the experience?
So with a conference like this, there's a lot of options. First of all, it's affordable. And then you can decide from there what you want to do. Not everybody wants to go to workshops. Not everybody can afford $2,000 or $3,000. Not everybody wants to stay in the same place or see the same thing. So as we were talking about coming through all the different directions, you can come to Durango, you can come to this conference. You can have your plans before the conference. You can have your plans after the conference. There's so many Colorado color workshops. So if you want to do a photography workshop and then come to the conference or afterwards, plus we're going to do field trips, and we're going to announce those pretty soon, but we're talking like four-wheeling in the Plata Canyon, driving, taking people up north, driving to Telluride across the $1 Million Highway. So those are things that people can add on as they can afford. Not everybody can afford to do everything, but then everybody can, afford or want to do a variety of things. I've been to conferences before where workshops where I've had to be stationary with the whole group in one place, and not everybody is at that same point. So you sign up and you sign up for everything. And so you can come to the conference, which gets more out of one couple of day visits than any other type of event, and then go from there and choose whatever works for you and what works with your schedule.
Nice. Yeah, I would say, having been involved in several other conferences over the years, what you just said makes a lot of sense. And I think this approach kind of gives people the best of both worlds in terms of kind of like a menu of options and affordability being at the top of the list. So I think it just makes perfect sense from that perspective.
Yeah, and you think about if we were part of the corporate environment, which none of us are. We've hung up that hat a long time ago, unless we all have day jobs I don't know about. the water cooler. People always talk about the water cooler, bumping into people at the water cooler for discussions, and that's a little bit of this format as well. We had a couple potential speakers, one of which was kind of like, felt like they were going to arrive by private helicopter, do their speech, and then chopper away. Maybe it wasn't quite that dramatic. It was pretty close to that. Versus, and we said no, specifically wanting the speakers to be there the entire time, not just when they're giving their presentation, because then people can say, have a conversation with Sarah Marino, or can, go over in a particular area and ask Weibo Ho about one of her images, or talk to Cole Thompson or whatever else over lunch or dinner. So these speakers are going to be there for the whole time, and that goes back to the connection and building the community, for people to have, impromptu conversations as you're walking around, not feeling like, oh my God, I got to bum rush the stage as soon as that person's done, because they're going to be gone within 15 minutes. And I think that's another really cool thing about what we're structuring and putting together.
Yeah, and to your point, one of the things that I've always wanted is like a regular place where I can hang out with people that I know, do some networking, have fun, like catch up with my friends. Full disclosure, like when you guys had originally asked me to do the conference, I was like, man, my schedule is so destroyed. But then I saw like literally all of my friends are going to be there, and I'm like, I gotta go.
Yeah.
Those are all my friends. Those are all my favorite people in the world, and I want to be there and hang out with them and spend time with those people. So for me, it's like hanging out with my favorite people in the universe.
Wait a minute.
Well, I think we told you if you didn't come, we were going to get a cutout of you that said, "Where's Matt Payne?" And then people were supposed to get pictures with that. So we are going to have a poster 6-foot cutout, or 5'11" to be exact, cutout of Matt Payne
That would
standing
be
there.
very embarrassing.
So yeah, we're much happier to have you in person.
I was saying, like, what, the three of us are not enough, Matt, to be there? Your buddies?
Oh,
Oh,
No.
pack your bags for the guilt trip, Matt.
Oh man.
were you raised Catholic?
Pack your
like,
bags.
"Back to
You're
your
going on a
faces
guilt
enough."
trip.
Because my wife was, and that sounded a lot like something she would
Yeah,
say.
backing it up.
All right, well, so how did this awesome team come together? Like, was it a slow build or kind of one of those lightning in a bottle connections?
We picked names out of a hat.
Martha and I did the women's conference in Estes Park, of course, and it was fantastic. It was more than we could have ever imagined. But we knew that coming after a women's conference, we would need to partner with a male person so that it wasn't just believed that it was all women. This was conference for, just a specific, gender or whatever have you. Mm-hmm. And Martha and I thought a lot about, who could this be? And we needed to, consider the right kind of person. And Nic came highly recommended. We've heard him on, podcasts and Pixels and, some of the things that he's done. And he's been doing the fantastic things with nature photography classes. And when he became highly recommended, yeah, it seemed like it could be a good fit. And then he just blindly said, yeah, I'm going to do it before he knew what he was getting into.
Yeah, it's my life philosophy to just get in there and break stuff. So let's just do this. We'll figure it out as we go. So, but
I was gonna say, Nic, I don't necessarily know that you have like a lot of experience doing conferences, but like you do like an online conference like literally almost weekly. So
yeah, exactly. I got another one in Wayne Suggs in T-minus 4 hours. So
right. Well, busy day for you.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. Why did I schedule 2 big events after a 3-day art fair? I don't know. So if I fall asleep, it's nothing personal this time, Matt.
This time.
I was gonna say though, like it's kind of a testament to one of the things that I keep harping on with other people is if you want to do some really cool stuff in this field, like collaboration is the way to do it.
It's the only way.
You can do cool stuff on your own, but like if you really want to move the needle and also have a good time, and I think find some synergy. I think collaborating with others is the way to do it because you find people who shore up your deficits, your skill sets that maybe you don't have, but maybe you fill some skill sets that they don't have. And then also like, you multiply the amount of time you have available to do things. But obviously like it's not as easy as it sounds. I mean, you have to learn how to get along with others and put aside certain personal differences and things like that. But you can make it work if you have some of those skill sets.
I've learned over the years that they said like to pull a successful thing together, you have to get the best of everybody, and you have to be okay with not being the best at something, but letting that person, provide the best abilities that they have or the knowledge. So you put your ego aside, and then you work with everybody to make like a really good team. And it's basically what you were saying.
Yeah.
Tap into strengths.
Yeah. So
Tap into strengths.
full disclosure for everyone that's listening, Martha, Shanda, and I have never met face to face. So our worlds have only existed from the kind of chest up. So, and we don't really actually know. So it'll be interesting to see when we actually meet face to face without Zoom in between us, what we actually, perceive. But so far, so good.
Yeah.
Well, when that happens, you get to look forward to Shanda calling you short. So
Yeah, exactly. So, and I'm probably only an inch taller than you, Matt. So she's going to be like, "Oh, hey, second shorty." So,
She calls me short all the time.
yeah, well,
yeah, but that's fair.
yeah. Giants always pick on people though. So
I feel like I'm getting hit here.
Hey, man,
always
you threw
fun.
the.
You threw the
did the
first
first
punch at
one, right?
Matt.
That's right.
I think that was offline.
That's okay.
That was
Everyone
so
knows you
funny.
called me short. So. All right. So next question. When I looked at the lineup, as I had mentioned earlier for this conference, I was blown away. I was like, I was expecting to see a couple of really awesome speakers, but like you guys literally have some of the best, most well-renowned nature and landscape photographers in the industry. I also noticed that you have some people who are maybe kind of up and coming and emerging, not just like the best of the best. So how did you guys pick the people who are going to speak?
I do the speaker series through nature photography classes. I've been doing it now for almost 3 years. So I've had the opportunity to work with a huge variety of speakers from all over the place and understand to a large degree what makes a speaker connect, or how does a speaker connect with an audience, and when do they miss it, is one aspect. Definitely helped to bring it together. The other aspect is, as a creative and as a photographer and as a business owner, or even as a human, we all bring in some of our beliefs about the industry we're in, what we're seeing, observations. And it felt like, to me in particular, and I think Shanda and Martha shared some of this, there's some people that have been on that podium, so to speak, for a long period of time as the premier speakers. I mean, there's unfortunate things like Brian Peterson passed away last week, and I remember a keynote presentation he'd given at a presentation one time. So we lose some people that way, but there's other people that haven't cycled through new content. They're not bringing fresh ideas. They're not bringing fresh images in there. So we specifically wanted to avoid some of those types of people we didn't feel like are staying relevant within the photography space, and find that opportunity for people that are putting forth a huge amount of effort to give back to the community, to bring forth learnings, bring forth teachings, bring forth new types of ways of looking at photography. And so that kind of helped us to shape some of these lesser known people that we think have had engagements, interactions with, that are bringing forth really cool things. So like Beth Bulow, Bilo. I learned the other day I've been saying Bulow. It's actually Bilo. Beth Bulow is an example. She's got the Pixels podcast. She's been doing fantastic work there. Michelle Sanz is another person not a ton of people have heard about, and she's up and coming. But she's just consistently churning out really, really solid work out there. And then finding some other people as well that have a good message, have really good images, have a good opportunity to connect with an audience, just has led to that well-rounded. So bringing in, really established people that we really connect with and audiences connect with as well has been good.
And I love what you just said there about giving some new people a chance, right? Because I've noticed kind of the same thing. In fact, not to use names, but like there's some people in the industry that like, I can't remember the last time they released an image, but they keep getting speaking opportunities. And it's like, don't you need to be actually using a camera and making new images to be considered a photographer these days? And like, I get it. Like if you specialize in public speaking and that's what you're known for, that's cool. But like, if your last photo was from 2018, like maybe there's a new idea out there.
Well, and we've seen it. The speaker topics are reflecting that. So they're all brand new presentations and topics that haven't been given or offered before. So your people aren't going to come and see like, oh gosh, I've seen this presentation 12 times by X person. It's going to be some completely new and fresh. It may incorporate some images or ideas, but the idea, and we're about to announce the speaker topics, is really new stuff.
Opportunity is pretty special because, there's times where I've appreciated opportunities just like anybody else. And that's all it takes. it takes somebody to believe in you, somebody to give you a chance, somebody to give you an opportunity or believe in you enough to be able to do it. And as I've been one of those recipients of opportunity, we also want to provide that for other people as well. So
absolutely. So along those same lines, I'm curious from y'all's perspective, what do you think makes a great speaker or a panelist for a photography conference like yours? Are there qualities or experiences that stand out to you beyond just name recognition?
Yeah, we talked about this one a little bit internally. So we battled a little bit. We didn't finally come together as a group until middle of December, early December. So we were a little bit behind the curve and when we may want to put things together. Ideally, we would have started 6 months before and maybe had a little less stress these last couple months. But hey, that's not how we roll. Let's do this. But the idea to round out particular topics, so having people that do some wildlife photography, having some black and white photographers, having some night photographers, having people that focus on abstracts and small scenes, other photographers that do world travels, other photographers that are outside. Those enabled us to really bring together a wide range of topics. But then in particular, looking for the speakers, kind of going back to what I said earlier, that have a message and have a passion they want to bring forth. So we're not going to people that haven't presented before that are like, hey, your pictures are pretty. Do you want to come say some things? Because I've had speakers on the speaker series that's like, they have fantastic images, but they don't know the first thing about educating or communicating or connecting with an audience, versus we have photographers here. Sam Marino is the classic example. A, incredible images, B, incredible person, but C, the opportunity to bring it all together into a format that is really approachable and also relatable. So when we could find those combinations of those three characteristics, those are the ones we really wanted to get in and get slated in there. And hopefully we've done our job, or we'll do our job efficiently.
All right, so next question has to do kind of with the idea of this in-person concept, which obviously isn't new. We've been doing photography conferences since photography was invented, I'm guessing. But right now it seems like the big push is for digital learning, but partially because I think it's less expensive. It's easier for people to find time in their schedule to do it. There's a lot less logistical hassle. So what is the real value of being together in one place as a group of people?
The online conferences are easier and more affordable. They're cost effective, but you lack the connection. And I think that's like a theme that we have going on, like the connection and meeting in person. And nothing can replace that. I have bought like tons of videos and programs and things that just gonna sit on a server somewhere, because even though you get a chance to watch them unlimited, times, or they don't expire, I mean, you don't really go and sit down and watch that. It's better to go outside, or if somebody calls me like, hey, you want to go shoot? I'll go shoot with them versus sit online and learn something. So that's one of the things. The challenge with in-person conferences, as you know, it's that it requires like a bigger commitment, bigger capital investment from both attendees and us as the organizers, because ultimately it's a gamble. We're investing a lot and attendance is not guaranteed, so we stand to lose if we're not able to make it happen. But that gamble is worth it based on our experience on what you can get out of attending a conference in person. You build friendships, you can network, you can make business partnerships, as we've proven with Shanda and I. It came out of meeting out of Outsiders Conference. So that has been super valuable. And then we've had this friendship where we not only partner as a business partner, but we go photograph together quite a bit.
But I mean, that's the thing, right? Like it's not just about business partnerships. Like the sky's the limit in terms of like the things that you could forge in terms of like meeting people that you can hang out with in the future. Like maybe you come up with a harebrained idea on like a product, or maybe you come up with an idea on, hey, maybe we just want to work on a photography project together. Like it doesn't have to be monetized. Like I think there's a big, like people are so obsessed right now with monetization, but like there's so much more to photography than like making money off of it, right? Like making those personal connections for me. And I know, Nic, you know this because you watched my presentation on your online course a couple of days ago, but like for me, one of the biggest things that I've gotten out of my journey in photography is those human relationships that I've forged, and it's invaluable.
Yeah.
One of the things that I was going to add is that coming out of the women's conference, we talked afterwards, and both Shanda, Jeannie, and I felt like we were on a high for like a couple of weeks, because the feedback that we got from people who attended were like, some of them are, or most of them are introverts, or, attending an event like this, it's kind of like a risk that you're taking, but everybody was so happy and so glad that something like this had happened. So they were able to connect in a way that they didn't think it was possible. So people were willing to take risks and be vulnerable and open to possibilities. So that's one of the major things that make this in-person thing worth it. And you mentioned, like, you notice that when you go on, personal workshops or stuff, you probably notice the difference between being behind the screen doing a podcast versus when you are on the field working with attendees, right, or workshop.
Oh, for sure.
So, yes, it's...
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny because, I mean, you brought up workshops, but, like, in my experience teaching workshops, like, the people that really get the most out of them, like, yeah, they get some cool photos. That's neat. That's fun. But really what it's about is, like, the experience that they have and the connections they make with other humans. Like, that's what people are really getting out of the workshop type experience. And I think a conference can offer something very similar as well.
Yeah, I think of, like, when I lead workshops, I have not every single workshop I lead, but a lot of them you'll then find workshop participants coming together in the future to go photograph in a particular area. So I did one in Death Valley, and then they messaged me. I got a USSI from them a couple months later of them didn't know each other, photographing together in Yosemite a couple months later. And that's really cool to kind of see that. But I also think with workshops, there's a little bit of forced intimacy. Like you as the instructor are directing a large portion of the timelines and where you're going, not what they're shooting. So people have to, be somewhat in that place or location and socialize with other participants or whatever else. And usually that's positive. But in something like this conference for the multiple days with lots of different people, there's going to be chunks and pieces you really grab onto that you may not see in a workshop environment, whether it's a particular presentation or a particular topic or talking to a gear vendor about a particular product or whatever else. And so the variety within something like the conference is really cool, I think, because then there's going to be something for everyone. We're doing an educational learning lab where we're bringing in a bunch of our really high quality, some of our favorite print photography books for people to look through to get a good sense of what a Theo Bosboom book looks like, or what is Paul Wakefield's book like, or Matt Payne's, or I should say the NLPA books that have never seen one in person, or how impressive they are. So that's part of the whole thing too.
That's super cool. Yeah.
Nice. We did a survey at the end of our women's conference, and I just wanted to read a little bit of the feedback of what they took away from it. So out of all the things that we received back as far as feedback, you'll hear a theme here. The atmosphere and opportunity to connect with both speakers and participants was phenomenal. Having an actual social where we got to meet and chat with others, forming friendships with fellow badass women, the variety of speakers and topics, connecting with other photographers. How can I choose the best? Speakers were all good. Making friends was amazing. Connecting with others, the inspiration focus of the speakers. We need more networking time. We wanted to network even more. I found friends to shoot with, the right mix of inspiration and how-tos. I mean, you can see, like, it's a constant. The things that they thought were some of the best that they walked away with were friendships, conversations, interactions, networking. I mean, those were by far the top.
Awesome.
So that tells us something.
Yeah, 100%.
And they were not
That's what
paid
people
to
want.
say those.
Right. Right.
Right. All
May
right,
have
well,
been
let's talk
threatened.
about...
I'm not sure. I wasn't there, so Shanda and Martha could have threatened. You say something nice, you're not going home.
Okay. These were emails. So emails, questionnaire, all safe.
You better send in a review or else I'm going to call you short in public.
Yeah.
I'll
Call you a Sony shooter. You're on the podcast with 3 Nikon shooters, Matt, so you better behave. So that was the other thing that brought us together, was the fact we were all Nikon.
Love of Nikon.
Yep.
I used to
And the love for
Nikon.
Colorado.
Hey, I was a Nikon shooter for a long time, all right?
Yeah. Then you hit your head, and it's all right.
No, they drug their feet on mirrorless technology. That's a whole other conversation.
They did.
All right, yeah. Oh, here we go. Do we want to talk about gear? I mean,
No.
Nope. All
I
right.
just
So
want to insult and then move on. That's all.
that sounds like a typical Nikon shooter. Okay. All right. So,
Oh my goodness.
all right. So let's talk about the logistics. So, obviously, as organizers, it's a balancing act between people's dreams, like people who want to go, and real-world limitations and logistics. Can you share an example of where things got a little bit tricky in terms of trying to meet people's demands while making it affordable and actually doable?
yeah, so we want to give our attendees the best experience and most memorable experience that we can do, while keeping it affordable. We're actually kind of keeping the cost very low. So, like an example would be when we were planning the women's conference, we had the chance to book this venue, this hotel that was pretty luxurious. The views were amazing, the rooms were top notch, but the cost of that was probably the double or maybe triple the budget that we had planned for. So that would have raised the cost of the attending the conference, pretty high. So we kind of chose to do a more affordable venue that was still, centrally located. You're in easy access to downtown. We were talking about Estes and Rocky Mountain National Park, but still solid building and rooms, etc. So yes, and then a lot of people want workshops. While that would be great, the problem of getting a permit, it's pretty time and cost. It's very hard to get a permit. Intensive, yes. So we're not going to offer workshops, but we're, like Shanda mentioned, we're going to work on field trips where they're more like photo outings with speakers, and then we give the participants a chance to go shoot with speakers and interact with them while photographing, but we're not running a workshop. And that cuts down on insurance, on permits, and all that stuff. So it's a balance that we have to do, but we want to keep quality high, and then we want people to keep coming back to this because it's not going to be like a 1-year thing.
Shanda, I'm sure you were going to say something about, like, it's Durango. You have like 3 choices max in terms of any location that could handle more than like 30 people. And I thought that your choice of doing it out in Ignacio at the casino was a good choice because super nice building. It's really new.
Smoke free.
It's not that far away.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty cool out there. And if anyone's never been to the Ute Mountain Museum that's there, it's like one of the most amazing experiences you'll ever have, and it's free. That's just an aside, just FYI. It's a really cool experience out there in Ignacio. But yeah, I mean, in Durango, you have very limited options in terms of venues. So that seems to make the most sense to me as well.
A lot of locations have that same thing. I mean, finding a venue that's big enough to be able to do this sort of thing is hard to find. And the Sky Ute, it's a Sky Ute casino and hotel resort. And I know some people key in on the casino and think smoke-filled rooms and, the machines and the drinking and the people that have been there forever. But this environment is actually very different from that as well. It's very clean and nice and you can't smoke. But we didn't pick it for the casino part. We picked it because if you've ever attended a conference out there, the SBDC does one, every year, the business conferences. It's an incredible space. It's a massive space. And the food was amazing. The options are amazing out there. If you were to fly into Durango, they'll come get you for free. So if you're going to stay at the Sky Ute, they'll come get you for free. So you can literally stay there and not leave if that, is something that, fits in your budget and that you want to do. Because there's a couple of restaurants right there on site as well.
I was going to say the airport is actually closer to Ignacio than it is downtown Durango.
Yeah. Yep. So it's, that's
there's
just
a bowling alley.
Away.
You didn't say the bowling alley, which is like
bowling
the funnest.
alley, swimming pool. I mean, yeah.
No, they're not allowed to have any free time at the conference, so no free time.
Right.
I don't know.
I'm
looking forward to bowling with Sarah Marino. I think that'll be fun.
Just to know. Is that
Sounds
a
like
challenge
a
I just
new
heard?
speaker series.
Yeah.
That's a perfect networking activity.
Yeah, bowling with Sarah Marino. A new podcast.
Yeah. I was gonna say
Awesome,
that there's
awesome.
like an advantage of being in Durango because Shanda's a local there, so you can, she knows the area very well, so she can go. Like if there is an issue with the hotels, you can go and talk to them, or the restaurants, or so it's one of the added benefits of doing it there.
Hmm. They're incredible there. They're so easy to work with.
Oh,
They
so
basically
easy.
opened up the whole place for us to use as we see fit. They also offered a killer discount on the rooms. So in fall, anywhere out here in Colorado, it's going to be hard to find rooms, especially affordable rooms. And they cut off, they cut off $80 per night for the rooms to stay at the Skyu. They originally gave a $149 smoking deal, and that came and went quicker than we had imagined. So the rooms now, we've got 80 rooms blocked that are 160 to 170, depending on if you choose concierge or not. But these are standard rooms, king size or queen size, at 160 or 170. And that beats the $240, per day normally, per night normally during this time of year. And hotel fees, as you all know, are pretty expensive these days. So
Yeah, or you could
it's a
get
really great deal.
Airbnb and Telluride for $1,000 a night.
Yeah.
If you're lucky.
Right.
Well, but that's the other point, and then we'll move on from the venue. Is it's 100 and don't quote me, 110 rooms. So theoretically, we could have the entire hotel casino just be the Horizons conference. So that's pretty awesome. It's not like the Bellagio where there's 6 wings and there's going to be 3,000 people there or something. Like the entire conference could theoretically be, which it should be, by the time we get to that point.
So we could do like a bowling tournament.
We could.
You really want to
Yeah,
go
we're going to
bowling
put you
now.
in charge of that, Matt. So
Or we
thanks
could
for
do
signing
like a
up for that.
blackjack tournament. I mean, we could do all kinds of cool stuff that has nothing to do with photography.
Who needs to go
Yeah, as
first?
long as you can we'll use your speaker fee. How about that? And we'll just distribute it out for gambling purposes. I'm sure there's nothing illegal about that.
That's probably what I'll end up using mine for anyway. So, no, I'm just kidding. All right, so let's talk about the tangible, realistic benefits that one can get out of attending an event like this. And we've already talked about the community aspect. What are some other positive impacts that people can get out of this? Maybe, social, political, environmental. Like, what are the things that people can get out of an experience like going to this conference?
One of the things I think Shanda's mentioned that before is like socially, right? Like when you attend events like this, you get to talk photography with people that are like-minded. You don't get your husband or your sister or your family tired of like you talking photography all the time. So that would be one thing. So you're with like-minded individuals and you're not making other people sick.
You get that too, huh?
Yeah.
Once in a while.
Never.
So you get to network with like-minded individuals. Most of us photographers are introverts, so going to an event like this, it's a risk, but it's something that you leave feeling really good about because you're able to accomplish something that was kind of nerve-wracking for you to begin with. We all are Nature First members, so during our conferences, we always try to talk about Nature First principles, and we want people to engage on following those principles, and not only at the event but afterwards too, and they can teach other people. And politically, we are in some tricky times, and we don't talk politics during our events, but you can kind of prove that you don't have to be on the same side of politics to be able to attend events like this or socialize with people with different views. So politics aside, we all have the passion for photography. We all have the passion for nature, protecting public lands, protecting wildlife. So that unites us. So I think it's beneficial in that sense that you don't have to view things the same way to be able to get along.
Yeah, and to your point, as you were talking, I was thinking about like if someone is worried, like they're an introvert and like a conference is intimidating to them, it seems to me like a lot of it is like what you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. And having a mindset that like, I'm going to go into this not worrying about having like being an introvert. And I'm going to assume a lot of people here are also introverts. And I'm just going to be open to the experience and to I mean, like similar to how we approach making photographs in nature, right? Like the more open-minded you can be to the process, I feel like the better experience you can have. And I think that runs for conferences as well.
Yeah, we noticed that with our women's conference. We had a lot of people who were, the social event, like the first night, they were kind of, sitting back and kind of holding back. And by the end, they were all like meeting and making plans and, becoming friends and exchanging phone numbers. So it kind of brings you out of your shell. It also helps you identify with other people that you see, speakers or attendees. They all face the same fears that you do, so you can kind of feel more comfortable about it. But I think, I don't know, I speak for myself, but attending big events, it can be a little bit nerve-wracking, but then you just kind of let loose and go.
I think actually meeting speakers is a huge value because we see them online and we see them, here and there and through their social media, but to actually meet them and get to talk to them is a whole new experience. And you can, for people that are looking at what kind of workshops to go to, what types of things to attend, it's a huge risk. It's a huge investment to say, okay, I'm going to spend $3,000 and go on this trip with this speaker. Maybe the location drew you, maybe the pictures drew you, but to not actually know, the person that you're going to be learning from and spending so much time with can be something that you find out maybe it wasn't quite the right fit. Maybe the experience was still good, but it wasn't, the fit just wasn't there. So going to a conference like this, you get to meet all these different types of speakers, talk to them face to face and one-on-one, see what the dynamics are like, and then even take an additional step to maybe reaching out to one to be a mentor. A lot of them have mentorship programs. So you might actually relate to somebody and connect with them so much that you want to join one of their mentorship programs or go on one of their workshops because, hey, now you know that person and you really like the way that they carry themselves. You like the way that they communicate with you, and you like the way that they look at you when they speak, whatever it is. And so you really form that bond with people that it becomes a really valuable learning lesson or a relationship in the future.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we almost got into the debate of gear. Nikon, Sony, Canon, all that kind of fun
gear
stuff.
Gear is a positive, so because there will be gear giveaways, lots of gear giveaways. So.
Yeah, I'll let you talk about that in a minute, Nick. But I just wanted to say, like, in my experience, the photography industry can be really like super gear oriented, and some people who are into photography, like that's all they want to talk about is gear. And that's fine. Like I get it. Like I enjoy talking about gear. I think it can be fun, but I think it can also kind of like overload some people, especially if you're not like a gear person. Like you just want to talk about like making photographs that speak to you or whatever. So how do you keep the conference focused on art, creativity, and storytelling while infusing in, something for those gear obsessed people as well?
Well, first off, by choosing the right speakers. I mean, that was a big element to this whole recipe. Then the topics, I mean, that's key. They're going to be artistic, creative, and storytelling. So we've got, everything, the whole gambit, of all of those and everything in between. Inspiration, creativity involves so much more than just watching a YouTube. It takes immersion. It takes opening your mind. It takes getting out of your comfort zone. It takes selecting influences and much more. And that doesn't matter what kind of camera that you carry. Creativity is creativity. I know that a lot of people, we have different ways of thinking about things, and some people are more technical and some people are more intuition driven, and there's a multitude of everything in between. But the creative practices that these speakers will talk about are things that can be used no matter what type of gear you have. So, I mean, some gear have some limitations, maybe ISO, and you want a higher ISO to achieve, a particular goal, but creativity doesn't have limits.
Yeah.
Or if you want to do multiple exposure ICM, don't get a Sony.
Well, you can still do it. You just do it in post-processing rather than
you
in
just
camera.
can't do it in camera, though. Come
right.
on.
I mean, there's still ways to do it, though, Matt.
I know.
Yeah, but I think on the interweaving side, which is, so we're working, so first of all, we don't have a application process that we just accept any vendor out there or potential sponsor. We're actually very selective on who we approach. And the best example is we're trying to find the right print company to come to the conference that's not Costco Photo Lab, and my name's Johnny Associate. I'm based out of Minneapolis, as much as it is a smaller thing, so people can ask printing specific questions directly there, understand the technology behind how metal prints are made, or understand what goes into printing papers and feel and touch and see those kind of things. So when it does make sense to get a little bit technical, well, we're going to bring in a specific expert on that particular thing so you can see it, feel it, touch it, talk to a real person that you can email or phone call or whatever else later. And I think that's the infusion within what we're trying to do, not this bigger, much bigger thing of just the marketing churn, so to speak, of like a big brand things or something.
Cool.
Yep.
I love that. And my favorite things that I experienced at a photography conference was at an Out of Chicago conference in Yosemite, and somebody from, I want to say it was from a camera store in Maine, they had brought with them a big Canon printer. Obviously they wanted to try to sell these printers, but it was really cool because people at the conference could actually print their images that they were creating at the conference. I'm curious, do you have any plans to do something similar to that?
Maybe.
And if not, you should.
It's very possible.
It's in the works.
It's in the works, but we can't comment yet. So
Yeah. And it's a cool idea if you can pull it off, because I think it gives people that tangible thing, like, oh my gosh, I got to print a photo. Because, I mean, so many people have never printed their
never
images
print.
before, right?
yeah.
Yeah, and so, like, being able to, like, do that in person, like, watch it come off the printer, that's
pretty cool.
that's a cool
Amazing.
thing.
It is.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Well, it was like
So if
that
you-
podcast you had with Jack Lodge, and he was talking about when he sells his prints, he puts them out there, he actually takes a video of the print coming out of the printer, and he says that directly helps the sale of it. I thought that was fascinating, like that illustration of it. So
Smart.
I had
Smart.
Super
the
smart.
experience with Shanda. She printed some of my images at her house, and it was pretty cool. Kind of see them go through, because I don't have a printer, go from the screen to the printed paper. So yeah, it's a pretty cool experience.
Yeah, and to your point, Nick, like having other people at the conference who are experienced in doing that, and even better if you can get someone from a reputable print lab to come, or people can ask them questions. I think that would be an amazing experience.
yeah, we will do that. We're actively working. Shanda has an update for
It'll
us,
be
I
there.
think, on Wednesday. So
Yeah. Well, if you need me to pound any doors, let me know.
we will. we know you know a thing or two about printing, but
A
And
couple
the
things.
print company of choice.
mm-hmm.
There you go. All right.
Enough hints.
I'm gonna put you guys on the spot for a second, and I'll start with you, Nick. So let's flip roles for a second. Let's say that you're an attendee who's considering going to your very first photography conference. What would you want to hear or feel confident in making that leap to attend?
I would want to know that the organizers behind the conference have not sold their soul to the highest bidder in terms of a sponsorship, and it's not going to be a giant infomercial for the period of time, one thing after another, pitching a product, pitching a thing, pitching something else, or something that's not even directly related. And that's not what we're doing in any way, shape, or form. There'll be a couple select sponsors that you'll hear from a little bit potentially. So that's a big thing for me. The secondary thing I would say is a really big thing, and this is personal bias, but it's valuable to me. So is to have a conference that's organized by photographers for photographers. So that is a
Exactly.
massive deal, because we understand. I would want to know. Sorry, I'm trying to keep it in the right context. I would want to know that the organizers understand the challenges, the pitfalls, the issues that are going to be experienced by photographers, or what's experienced out there, versus like this person is a professional conference organizer. They're not going to have any direct relation to the real world practical applications of what's going on. I'd also want to know, a little bit about the reputability of them, what gives them that opportunity to do this and to bring this forth. And if you take the work I've done with the speakers in conjunction with Shanda and Martha putting on a fantastic women's conference, well, we have that marriage right now of people that have done conference organizations, people that have worked extensively with speakers to bring that together. So those three pieces really mean the most to me. It would mean the most to me of like, okay, These people are not selling out their souls to the highest bidder or the lowest bidder to a bidder whole. They understand what it's like to be a photographer because they're photographers themselves, and they've done this before and worked with speakers. Those would be the 3 items I'd look for in a conference.
What about you, Martha?
Nick hit on the head is like being organized by photographers for photographers. So that was like one of the things. But the other one is, I guess, hearing how other people's experience was. And obviously Horizons is new, but we created a different conference and we have the experiences from past participants. So I would rely on that because you can't really rely on what we say versus what somebody, past attendees said and experienced. So that would be some of it.
I'm the kind of person who takes risks, though, calculated risks. And if I'm even, thinking about it or I'm on the fence, I'm all in. I'm going to go see what it's like and find out for myself. And if it's something that interests me, then, I do it. So
I think if it was, you didn't ask, but asking.
Yeah, I want to hear
the
Matt.
question. Yeah. So for me, it would be like something you said earlier resonated a lot for me, Nick, and that was like something new, like presentations that are fresh, that haven't just been regurgitated or recycled. I think that would be important for me. Obviously, snacks and food is important because I like food. Food is really important when it comes to conferences. And then I think I mentioned this, but like just seeing the names that you guys had, the people, like there's so many people on the list of speakers that I'm like, oh my gosh, like I think I've had almost every single person you've invited on my podcast, except for maybe 1 or 2. And I'm like, oh, I finally get to meet them. That's so exciting for me. So, so for me, like being able to just interact and engage with those people in a social setting, I think that's exciting for me. But I'm also an extrovert, so, I'm a little different and weird that way. So awesome.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
so I had just one last question for y'all. What would it take for someone to walk away from Horizons Photography Conference and say, that changed the way I see and make photographs? What's the secret to creating that kind of transformation?
I think I'll add a little bit here. One of the things, like, say, hearing like a presentation from Sarah, where you get to see how she sees the world and how she approaches photography, where she's mentioned before, where she's like at botanic gardens photographing like dead plants, and people are like, what are you photographing? Like the pretty flowers will come later. So we all get fixated on, beautiful sunsets and clouds and, these things, but so learning to see and learning to find beauty in things that you particularly wouldn't have thought of is, be one of the things. So like, presentations like that can inspire you to learn to see or appreciate more.
Yeah, I would build on that to a degree, the way I see and make photographs. I think there's going to be a lot of light bulb moments for people, some of which will come in the middle of a presentation, exactly where the presenter wants it to be on the exact point they want it to be. But a lot of them are going to come in between. They're going to come through other people's questions of the speakers. The Q&As, when I do them as part of the speaker series, oftentimes are the most insightful thing, because it's not just how it's sometimes the question you don't want to ask because you think it's stupid. Then somebody else asks it and you're like, oh, that's a really good answer. That's a really good question. And then B, just those interfaces directly with the speaker. We can all put together a 45-minute presentation of our greatest hits, but the in-between of the actual substance beyond why we photograph is going to come out, over a lunch, or it's going to come out as you're talking to so-and-so in the hall or doing other things, or having questions with other photographers. Like that genuineness, the authenticity and the genuineness, I think is going to be the thing you see and feel. You're going to come out just recharged and just ready to go. I think in a lot of these areas, because you're just going to be like, wow, I'm not alone in this. There's a huge amount of people out there that have the same amount of passion for photography that I do.
As I was thinking about this topic for this podcast, I was thinking about my own journey in photography, and probably back in like 2016, I looked at people like Sarah Marino and Ron Coscarosa and all the people that like Alex Noriega, and I was like, there's just something special about them that makes them a genius. And I'll never make photographs like that. Yeah. And that's just how it is. And I'm not trying to discount anything about them and their work. Like, they are geniuses and they make amazing photographs. But I had this really cool opportunity to spend time with them in person, a lot of time, and just hang out with them, photograph with them. And the more time you can just spend with people that you think have like this genius perspective, you start to realize that it's less about like them being a genius and more just about like kind of their unique perspective, how they see the world. But also these are things that you can learn too. Like you can incorporate a lot of the things that they do and their practices into your approach to photography and become a better photographer in the process. And I credit my own, like, I'm not saying I'm a great photographer, but like my photography has gotten a lot better since 2016. And a lot of it is because of those moments where I got to spend that time with people and like realize that they have two legs and they put pants on the same way I do. And like, really, they just have a interesting way of seeing the world, and I can do that too.
Yeah.
Being open-minded.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I call it your mosaic of influence.
I like
Ooh,
that.
that's good. That's got some meat to it.
You kind of have no idea, but you have this mosaic and it has bits and pieces of influences throughout your photography journey. And this is just one of those pieces, but you can get a lot of pieces into that mosaic that you walk away with. We've put the right recipe, the key elements together that are going to make this inspirational, creative, and connect with ability. Connect with the bull. I don't like that. We've created this recipe with the key elements that are okay. Stop it. I was gonna say one last thing. I'm trying to put this together and make it sound good.
Wine.
No, it's too late.
She's trying to smartify it.
I know, right?
She's like,
The hair is shining through.
But see, that's the other thing about conferences, right? Like a lot of the online world where these conversations happen, it's sterilized. Like
Totally.
you wouldn't see these gaffes and these like, mistakes people make, but that stuff just happens in conferences. And it goes back to what I was saying. Like, you realize these are just people too. And
humans, yes.
And I think yes. And like I feel like once you kind of connect with people on that more human level, then it becomes their approach to making images becomes much more relatable, and you can then incorporate it into your mosaic.
Yep.
Wow, look at you.
Right?
Exactly.
You're gonna cut that out, right?
No,
people
totally I'm not.
Yeah.
These people are approachable too, which is like super fun. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
I don't know about Matt,
Awesome.
but most of the other ones.
Most of them will be. So.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Just
Well,
kidding.
Nic, Martha, Shanda, this has been really fun, and I am really looking forward to being a participant and a speaker at the conference. So thank you for
Yay.
putting it together, and thank you for telling us all about it today.
Perfect.
We're
We
glad
look
to
forward
have
to seeing you, Matt.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Matt.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thanks for joining me for another great episode. A huge thank you to the team behind the Horizons Photography Conference for sharing the story behind what promises to be a truly inspiring event. I'm excited to share that I'll be speaking at Horizons this fall in Durango, Colorado. My presentation is titled The San Juan Mountains, How a Lifelong Connection Can Shape Your Photography. In it, I'll be talking about what happens when you fall so deeply in love with a place that you have no choice but to live it, breathe it, and let it shape your creative voice. I'll explore how a deep connection to the San Juans has changed the way that I see and make images, and how you can cultivate that kind of connection in your own work. If this sounds like the kind of experience that you're looking for, I'd love to see you there. And don't forget, you can get $100 off of your registration by using the code PAYNE100 at checkout. That's PAYNE 100. Check out the link in the show notes. Thanks for stopping in, collaborating with us, and listening. See you next week.